All right, welcome everyone. My name is Mikey Plautz and I'm partnered with Kyle Rehrauer, and we are presenting on Zoroastrianism. For the origin of the religion, Zoroastrianism is a pre-Islamic religion founded by the Iranian prophet Zoroaster, somewhere between 1200 to 1500 BC. While the origin is not exact, it was the official religion of Persia from 600 BCE to 650 CE. Zoroastrianism is thought to be one of the smallest religions still practiced today, as there are approximately 125,000 worshippers worldwide, The Iranian prophet Zoroaster is pictured on the right-hand side of the screen. Zoroastrianism is a monotheistic religion based on one God and creator of the universe by the name of Ahura Mazda. He is omniscient, all-knowing, omnipotent, all-powerful, omnipresent, present everywhere, unchanging, and impossible for humans to conceive. Although, pictured on the right-hand side, the creators of Simpson tried to depict him on the lower right-hand side of the screen. Regardless, he is the reason for all the good that exists in the universe. Zoroaster focused on a central message for worship. The central message was good words, good thoughts, and good deeds. Worshippers prayed several times a day, but were not required to come together in any certain fashion. They could pray however they wished. And then pictured on the right is a ceremony. It's called Navjot, the initiation ceremony where a child is accepted into the Zoroastrian fellowship. There are 6 foundational aspects to the religion known as Amisha Spentas, meaning in English, holy immortals, that describe the God within Zoroastrianism. So of the 6 foundational aspects, the first being Bahumana, meaning good mind and good purpose. Asha Vasishta, a truth and righteousness. Spenta Amarati, holy devotion. Kashathra Varya, power and just rule. Haura Vatat, wholeness and health. And Amaritat, long life and immortality. These foundational pillars helped God fashion the world, and each pillar is associated with a particular aspect of creation. Lastly, dualism is a critical component of Zoroastrianism, where good and evil both exist but are completely separated. Angra Mainyu is the evil counterpart to Ahura Mazda within this religion, who is pictured on the right-hand side of the screen. Angra Mainyu means destructive spirit in English, and he is the source of death and all evil in the world. This battle between good and evil is described to be everlasting within what's known as cosmic dualism, but there's a second component to Zoroastrianism known as moral dualism, which is the opposition of good and evil within the mind of mankind.
Right, so now that Mikey set us up with the foundations of the religion, I'll be talking about the healthcare aspect here. So to start, just kind of a bird's eye view here, the concept of Ushta is really important in Zoroastrianism. So Ushta is the state of spiritual, mental, and physical wellness that facilitates an active, meaningful, and fulfilling life. So this is what the Zoroastrians base their healthcare off of, returning to and obtaining a sense of Ushta. So as I mentioned, the spiritual aspect is really important to Zoroastrians here. They put a great emphasis on spiritual healing when they are sick or when they are experiencing symptoms or illness. So it definitely goes beyond the physical symptoms of the ailments, the manifestations of the ailments that they have. So with this, mental and chronic illness can be more of a matter of one's own personal spiritual power, which we'll talk about on the next slide here. But often they say that one, if they have a mental or chronic illness, must dig deep within themselves to be able to find that power, that spiritual power from their own soul, to be able to achieve Ushta and achieve healing as well. So with chronic illness and being able to look inside oneself for that power, it can often be looked down upon. Chronic or mental illness can be looked down upon and can be attributed to a person's own failures or infractions. If they do have a chronic illness or mental illness, often they're looked at as not having the power, the spiritual power, the ability to look deep within themselves to be able to achieve that healing. So with that, this can often decrease patients' self-worth or feelings of self-worth, which we obviously know that's a really, really important part of being able to heal and return to our baseline here. So oftentimes that can impede or obstruct the healing process. As for direct patient care, one big thing with Zoroastrians is the cleanliness and hygiene of themselves. So oftentimes with blood draws and IV placement or bathing as well, or sometimes patients become incontinent in the hospital, we often get our own bodily fluids on us as well. This is a really big thing for Zoroastrians to be able to immediately clean up and take care of and dispose of those things. So oftentimes in an article that I read, it seemed like Zoroastrian patients were more demanding per se. But this is more, we more or less have to remember that this is part of their religious practice. They have a huge emphasis on cleanliness and hygiene. So while they're hitting the call button, what may seem like, an unnecessary amount of times to clean themselves up, we often have to remember that, this isn't them trying to bug us. This is part of their religion. As for same-sex caregivers, I couldn't find anything on preference for same-sex caregivers. So female doctors or providers can take care of male patients and male providers can take care of female patients. As I mentioned, the healing process can be a very spiritual process. So oftentimes this invokes a sense of community when visitors are allowed. So oftentimes arrangements should be made to allow for visitors to be able to come and spend time with the patient. Prayer, like Mikey said, there's no special environment or any sort of prayers really that are said for healing specifically, but oftentimes the prayer offered in close proximity to the patient are the prayers that are best to help the healing process. So if arrangements can be made, that would be ideal. Medications wise, there's no rules against any pharmacotherapy that these patients are offered or may need. All are permitted. There was no specific like mental health medications that are kind of taboo in their culture. The only thing that is of note is drug herbal supplement interactions. So these should always be screened because a lot of these patients are taking herbal supplements, whether alone or in their diets and stuff like that. And which we obviously know as pharmacists that can interact with a lot of medications. So they should always be screened when they are admitted. Moving on to end of life care, some rituals that are usually employed at the end of life are the burning of a candle, an oil lamp, or incense. So this is done close in proximity to the patient's bed or the patient's head as well. A lot of the times, obviously, smoking is not allowed or candles aren't allowed in the hospital setting. So I read that an electrical lamp is also a good substitute as well. And then also a special prayer called Hashem Vohu is also recited usually by a close family member, or if that's not allowed, or if that's they don't have a close family member that's still alive, a close friend as well. And we can just kind of quick play that prayer here. Hashem Vohu Masti Ustasti Ustahamai Yat Ashai Vahistai Hashem. So you can kind of hear in there a couple of those words, like I mentioned, Ushta as well, achieving that kind of spiritual wellness and allowing them to heal. This is said to help the patient's soul kind of leave its body in the end of life care situation. So that's the prayer that's recited at the end of life. Interestingly enough, there was a special section on organ donation when I was doing my reading. So many Zoroastrians desire to participate in organ donation. But one thing that's really important is the timing of organ donation, which I can move on here as well. So burial is typically wanted to be done within 1 ga or 6 hours of the patient's death. So a lot of the times organ donation must be done as a part of the dying process rather than after the patient has died. So in order to meet that timeline of 6 hours, arrangements should be made prior to the patient's death as to whether or not they'd like to donate their organs. So here are our references, and then Mikey and I just want to say thank you for listening.